In this episode of True Crime Black, we are introducing a new type of segment. When it comes to the unsolved cases of black victims, one of the harsh realities we need to acknowledge is that black victims are disproportionately affected by gun violence more than any other race. For that reason, a lot of the unsolved cases we cover involve the shooting deaths of black men, women, and children. Sadly, a lot of those cases provide little information to work with. That has led to True Crime Black covering the cases in what will be called Senseless Shootings. Here is Volume 1. If there was one thing to know about Dishon Neocum, it was that she loved to dance. Dishani was a 6-year performer at Chicago's Bud Billiken Parade. Her beautiful dancing spirit was said to spread joy to her friends and family every time they saw her perform. Even more impressively, Dishani was still just in high school. When she wasn't dancing her heart out, she was working her newly acquired job at Culver's restaurant. She was also preparing to go to her school's upcoming senior prom. On top of all of that, her 18th birthday was also coming up. Tragically, Dishani would never get the chance to experience all that she had to look forward to. She would instead spend her birthday at UChicago Medicine attempting to recover from a gunshot wound to the head. She just got her first job at Culver's and had plans on becoming a CNA, Dishani's mother, Artemise Pruitt, said. "I never thought this would happen to you," she said while talking out loud to herself. She was getting emotional as she was speaking about her daughter. Dishani was a very lively and talented young woman who danced wherever she went. She developed a love of dancing at a young age and never let it go. As she got older, she would enroll herself in anything she could that would help her enjoy her passion. She eventually joined the Next Level dance team that would regularly perform in front of crowds at the Bud Billiken Parade. The Bud Billiken Parade is a summer celebration of the youth before school begins in the fall. The parade is hosted every year on Chicago's South Side along King Drive, beginning at 26th Street and ending at 51st Street at Washington Park in the Bronzeville neighborhood. That is sadly the same neighborhood where the tragic event took place. "She didn't deserve this," Dishani's mother said. "My baby was full of spirit. She wasn't mean, she wasn't evil." On March 9, 2023, Dishani's family gathered around her hospital bed on her birthday. She was unconscious, but her family was hopeful that she would make a full recovery. They were waiting for the moment when she would wake up. Tragically, that would never happen. Dishon Neocum was pronounced dead just 4 days later, according to the Cook County Medical Examiner's Office. The details surrounding the shooting seem to be unclear at some points, but March 1st is the day that it happened. That day, Dishani was visiting her cousin at her apartment in Bronzeville, a neighborhood in Chicago, Illinois. At one point that morning, at around 9:15 a.m., Dishani's cousin found her on the floor and wounded. She immediately called 911 and Dishani was rushed to UChicago Medicine in critical condition. The Neocum family believes that the cousin she was visiting may be apprehensive to disclose exactly how the shooting happened because of the implications it could have on her. The family doesn't blame her though. They just want help from the community as a whole in finding a resolution in the case. Fred Neocum, Dishani's father, has been frustrated with the lack of information and updates in his daughter's case. He says, "I don't understand why we haven't gotten any information whatsoever. No phone call from detectives, even on the day our daughter died," he said. "This is my worst nightmare. It's been extremely difficult." Sadly, we are still hoping for answers in this case. To this day, we still don't know exactly what happened to Dishon Neocum. Next, we look at the case of Darren O'Brien Kindle. The police in Texas have been trying to solve a murder for 5 years now. They are now re-releasing details of the case, along with photos and video that were part of the evidence at the time. This is all being done in the hopes of solving this cold case. The events occurred on November 3, 2017. On that day, 31-year-old Darren O'Brien Kindle ran to the Dollar General in his neighborhood. He was going there for a quick run to pick up a few items. When Darren made it to the register to pay for his stuff, the tragic events would take place. A young male, wearing the popular ghost mask from the movie Scream, ran into the store. He immediately approached the register and demanded he be given all of the money inside of it. The man behind the register could not open it at that time. He couldn't because he was in the middle of processing Darren's card transaction, and that prevented the register from being able to open. The man then pulled out a gun and shot Darren in the head. Afterward, he turned the gun on the clerk behind the counter. Fortunately for him, the gun malfunctioned and couldn't fire any bullets. The gunman then ran out of the store and into a wooded area nearby. Darren O'Brien Kindle would die in the hospital after succumbing to his gunshot wound. The police in Lufkin, Texas immediately launched an investigation into his murder. However, they struggled to find any solid leads in the case. The man suspected of shooting Darren was described as a light-skinned black male. He was likely in his late teens or early 20s. He was about 5 feet 10 inches to 6 feet tall. The man wore gloves when he entered the store, eradicating any chances of finding fingerprints as a piece of physical evidence. Luckily though, the police were able to find something else that they could use. The suspect left a shoe print on the counter when he stepped on it. The use of a gel technology has allowed for there to be an image of the entire bottom of the shoe. The sneakers the suspect wore were identified as a Nike Air Zoom Kobe Phenomenon 4 basketball shoe. The shoe was found to come in a bright red color with black accents on it. The surveillance footage from the store that night showed that the suspect was wearing bright red shoes. The police are hoping that the release of this information will spark someone's memory. Until then, the murder of Darren O'Brien Kindle remains unsolved. Khalil Gilbert was just 22 years old when he was met with tragedy. At a young age, Gilbert was already looking to make a difference in the world. The young man, a Strawberry Mansion High School graduate, was said to be a pillar in his community and was on the road to becoming a police officer. He was seemingly following in the footsteps of his uncle, a member of the Philadelphia Police Department's Highway Patrol Unit. For that reason, he was ecstatic when he learned that he got accepted to a police training program. That year, there were 100 graduates in his class. Sadly, Gilbert wouldn't get a chance to be one of them. On October 9, 2021, Khalil Gilbert was shot outside a fast food restaurant in North Philadelphia. Khalil was then rushed to Temple University Hospital and immediately into surgery. He seemed to be recovering at first. Then, he was taken back into surgery just 20 minutes later. That night around 10 or 9 something, I got a phone call stating that my son had just got shot, his mother, Janine Gilbert, said. Khalil plays a lot, so I'm like, this ain't real. So when I kept on getting phone calls, I passed out. I don't know what happened. Janine sat waiting in the hospital the entire time. Then, a staff member at the hospital got her attention. She took me into the family room and she said, "Your son is gone," his mother said. Sadly, Khalil had just graduated from the Philadelphia Police Explorers program. His family wouldn't find out until after he had passed. Like 2 weeks after he passed away, we got the email stating, "Congratulations. You start your class to be a police officer," Janine Gilbert said. So far, Philadelphia police have had very little success in apprehending a suspect. Surveillance video released by police shows 4 people leaving the scene, guns in hand, as people take cover. Hopefully someone out there has information regarding the murder of Khalil Gilbert. Until then, his case remains unsolved. A 10-year-old boy shot and killed his own mother in their Milwaukee home. He is now being charged with first-degree murder as an adult. The child's name has never been publicly released due to a judge's ruling. The murder took place at around 7 a.m. on Monday, November 21, 2022. The initial report on the incident detailed what would appear to have been an accident. The impression was that the boy was playing with his family's handgun and it discharged by accident. His mother, Kiana Mann, was sadly hit in the head and would die from the injuries caused. When interviewed, the 10-year-old reiterated that report by saying that he was twirling the gun on his finger when it accidentally went off. He then woke up his 26-year-old sister, who called 911. The boy remained with his family following the tragedy. Then, the Milwaukee Police Department began hearing about some concerns. The initial complaints came from the boy's sister. She expressed to the police that her brother had serious anger issues as well as a tendency to hear voices in his head. The family had cameras installed in the house just for the purpose of keeping an eye on him. They were unplugged 2 weeks before the shooting. One of the boy's family members recounted the young child's mood in the days following his mother's death. She said that he showed absolutely no remorse or any emotion at all. The day after his mother's death, the boy asked his family if his Amazon package arrived. What package was that? It turns out that it was something that was the catalyst for this tragic event. Becoming concerned with these complaints, the Milwaukee police decided to interview the boy for a second time. The boy eventually admitted that he intentionally got the gun and shot his mom because he was angry at her for not letting him order an Oculus virtual reality headset from Amazon. His sister learned that he logged into their mother's account and ordered the headset the following morning. His aunt, Rhonda Reed, was asked if she thought her nephew was capable of hurting his mother. "No, absolutely not," she said. According to Reed, her nephew started going to therapy over a year before the incident. His family then learned that he was dealing with mental health struggles after he was diagnosed with mood and conduct disorder. Limiting access to electronics was a treatment plan from his therapist, and most likely the reason that his mother declined to get him the VR set. Currently, the 10-year-old is being charged with first-degree homicide as an adult. The details of the trial are ongoing.